never seen one like you before. Almost human.
I am human, just enhanced.
In this video I'm going to talk about human enhancement movies in 5 themes, and I have 8 tips for these amazing science fiction movies, so stay tuned. My name is Peter Joosten, I'm a biohacker and a future thinker, and I'm fond of science fiction books, movies and series. And I'm also specialized in the topic of human enhancement and human augmentation. So besides giving keynote presentations and webinars and writing articles on my blog, I also like to make videos. So if you're already seeing this video, please do not forget to subscribe to my channel down below. And also if you have questions or remarks, or maybe you have a tip for me or other viewers about this topic of human enhancement, please leave a comment down below. So what is human enhancement? Human enhancement is, I give you a very simple definition, the use of science and technology to improve your bodily functions. So become more intelligent, become stronger, maybe change your affection, maybe increase your longevity. These are all things in the domain of human enhancement. So I'm going to share with you 5 themes, and in these themes I mention a couple of movies. So let's start. The first theme is bionics, so artificial limbs. The second theme is the use of certain pills to increase your cognition. The third one is the use of genetic modification. And the fourth one is about anti-aging. And the fifth one is maybe somewhat an outlier, but I want to share a movie tip with you about a person who founded this topic of human enhancement.
I'm going in.
You are the first of your kind.
So the first theme is bionics. And of course I think of the Terminator movie, which you saw in the introduction of this video. But another nice example is the Ghost in the Shell. So what do I mean with bionics? The use of bionics is where you replace a bodily part, like an arm, or in the case of Ghost in the Shell in Terminator, a lot more bodily parts with artificial ones, like made from mechanical, from steel, with electronics. So what I like about movies like Ghost in the Shell is, which is of course based on the anime movie, but this is the Hollywood edition with Scarlett Johansson, and these kinds of movies also make me think about more the philosophical implications of a future in which we as mankind, our future humans will also probably replacing parts of ourselves for artificial ones. So now, of course, we are already used to putting electronics in our body as a sort of aid for ourselves. Think of pacemakers or hearing implants, maybe also the use of contact lenses. But what if that progresses? And of course, Ghost in the Shell with Major is a really science fiction example, way out there you could say. But it really makes me think about, all right, what does it mean for her identity, for Major's identity, that she's part machine? And would you say that a person is a machine or a human if you consist of electronics or artificial elements for 50%? Is that a sort of border that we say beyond 50% we'll say that you are still human, and above it you're considered machine? So these are really interesting philosophical discussions, maybe for another time. So besides the Terminator movies and Ghost in the Shell, I also like the example of Repo Man. Repo Man is a movie with Jude Law and Forest Whitaker, and it's not about artificial limbs like legs or hands, but it's about electronic artificial organs. And Jude Law has to collect them for people who are not able to pay back the depth they have on these artificial organs. So you can think of an artificial liver, artificial heart, artificial lungs, these kinds of things. So these are my 3 tips in the domain of bionics, or you can say artificial bodily parts.
You know how they say that we can only access 20% of our brain? This lets you access all of it. They've had clinical trials and it's FDA approved.
All right, just out of curiosity, and that's all.
And the second category is about boosting our own cognition, our own memory, maybe our focus. And that's also called nootropics or smart drugs. So most people are familiar with the use of pharmaceuticals for their own health, maybe to increase their muscle mass. But you can also use pharmaceuticals to increase your cognition. Maybe you're drinking coffee, like I did this morning. You could say that's a form of cognition boosting. And in science fiction, people take that a notch further. And 2 famous examples in this theme are Limitless with Bradley Cooper and Lucy, again with Scarlett Johansson. And Limitless is about the substance called NTC48, and in Lucy it's about CPH4. And in both movies, the main characters in the movie can unlock enormous cognitive potential with the use of these substances. And yeah, in both you should watch both movies, how these improvements in their mental functions plays out for them. So I really like those movies.
In the not too distant future, our DNA will determine everything about us. A minute drop of blood, saliva, or a single hair determines where you can work, who you should marry, what you're capable of achieving.
The third theme is the use of genetics. And a movie that comes up a lot if you're talking about genetic modification, genetic selection is Gattaca, with Ethan Hawke and also with Jude Law, by the way, which was also an actor in Repo Man, which I talked about. And Gattaca is about a future where there's selection based on genetics. So you can have babies in the old-fashioned way, like they told in the movie, but you can also go to a genetic clinic and there you can decide what your baby, what are the characteristics of your new child will be. And compared to our current day and age, the movie is maybe a little bit slow. But if you're interested in the domain of human enhancement and also genetics, genetic modification, genetic selection, how that could play out on society as a whole, I would still give Gattaca as a tip. But it was not so clear for me, at least in Gattaca, if it was only about genetic selection, but also on genetic modification. Well, one movie that really goes into genetic modification is called The Titan, which is a really interesting concept where they say our bodies are not well equipped to survive in space or on other planets. And in the movie The Titan, they do experiments. The military does experiments on on soldiers, on astronauts, to genetically modify them so they can survive on the planet or the moon, I don't know, on the Titan. So I was really interested in the concept, but I should also warn you, because the movie in itself, that's not so good. I also think it's got like a 4 on IMDb, so watch out, but I really liked the concept. So that's about genetic modification.
We're obligated to go a different direction for the face of the center.
Am I too old?
But on your 50th birthday, you're a professional ballet dancer.
I got a call yesterday.
About the raise?
How's the job search?
$40,000 would get us through the next month. I need
Please, go.
The procedure you're launching, use it on me.
The fourth theme is about anti-aging. And of course, I can think of movies about immortality, like Highlander, or maybe The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, but that's not really about anti-aging, I think, or about immortality, because in the end, spoiler alert, Benjamin also dies in a very young body. But what I should say is, a movie I really like to tip in this team, the team of anti-aging, the fourth team, is Advantageous. And Advantageous, it's a pretty slow movie, but I think it was pretty good, and it's about a certain method is being developed by a company which can assure you that you become younger. So in this day and age, of course, there are really a lot of products on the markets who promise you and market their anti-aging effect, but this movie goes a little bit further. So if you're interested in the concept of anti-aging, I really would advise that movie to you.
Who amongst you has ever wondered if the dead could return to life?
Is that really possible? Reanimation?
We've been invited to Geneva by Lord Byron.
Would you like to join me in the Parliament, Miss Goldwyn?
I have no quarrel with you becoming lovers.
Do you wish to be with someone else?
And then the fifth team, and compared to the other teams, this is a different one, because it's not per se about a certain technique or method. Think about bionics, or think about genetic modification, or think about a certain output. Think about boosting your cognition. That was also an example. Or extending your lifespan, which was, of course, the fourth team. No, I would like to tip you the movie Mary Shelley. And Mary Shelley is also the name of I would like to say, the founder of this genre, as you might call it. Of course, in 1818, when Mary Shelley published her book Frankenstein, there were no movies, but Frankenstein was really like the beginning of this idea of creating sort of futuristic stories in her book about how we could use science and technology to change the human body. And one interesting thing about Frankenstein, I really liked the book. I listened to it as an audiobook. But if you're interested in like a sort of romanticized backstory of the author, Mary Shelley, I would advise this movie called Mary Shelley. And of course, there are a lot of Frankenstein movies, so you can also watch one of these. But I would like to emphasize that the brilliance that she was really like the first one, also as a woman at that day and age, to come up with this book, which of course has a major influence on our culture, our popular culture. You can also watch these movies I told you about. In a way, they all have to pay their homage to Mary Shelley. So I would also like to advise you to put that movie on your to-watch list. So thank you for watching. If you're interested in the concept of superhumans, human enhancement, human augmentation, transhumanism, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Also leave a comment down below if you have an advice for me yourself for a certain movie or series, if you have a question. And you can also go to my website if you want to have more information about my webinars, my keynotes, my workshops, my articles. And you can also find a free download if you go to superhumantalks.com.